day with recording, so
Okay.
we'll see how it works. It'll be all right on this side. I just hope it goes to the other side. Well, anyway, okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody to another program of Renew Your Spirit. I'm your host, Lynn Gaffin. And it's lovely to see everybody here in the new year. I hope everyone had a good New Year's Day, and we will have a better year this year. Please, 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 cross all your fingers, toes, eyes.
Yeah, possibilities are endless.
Yes. I'd like to welcome my guest today, Karen Ellis. Haven't seen her for a long time, but
Yeah,
she's been around. She's been busy. Yep.
Yep.
She's an ordained interfaith and spiritualist minister. That kind of takes in a lot.
Yeah, it does. I really wanted to be open to everything and anything, and that was my main objective in getting both the spiritual and the interfaith, because my goal was to basically learn as much as I can about every religion out there, but more so to develop an understanding of where people are coming from. And that was,
Yeah, that's why I got this. I wanted to find out, yeah,
where are you coming from?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go, and how can we assist or in cooperation helping people to get to where they want to be and get unstuck if that's what they're feeling. So
yeah. Well, it says here you completed your ministerial course at the Trilogy Institute at Lilydale.
Yes, that is with Reverend Patricia Price.
Okay.
And I was ordained in 2017, and it was a self-paced program, sort of like Morris Pratt is, but so I wanted to do it. I had already been doing a lot of ministry work and had been working in all the spiritualist churches, and done a lot of the prelim work in terms of meeting and greeting and working with people, and it just fed my heart. I don't know how else to put it. I just really, really wanted to do it, and I felt great when I was in a position where I could be of help to individuals. So I decided to go ahead and get the degree.
Well, I hadn't heard of that Trilogy Institute before.
Yep, it's run by Reverend Patricia Price, and it's an online program, and I came across it after I had gone to Lilydale with a friend of mine for the first time, and that's how I discovered it. So
that's interesting. Okay. And then you received your certificate of ordination from the Sanctuary of Universal Spiritual Circle and the City of Light Spiritualist Church.
Yeah. So it was all together. I chose to do it all together.
Okay.
I chose not to separate them. I wanted to do it all together. The piece of paper was important to me because the way the trilogy is set up is that I was able to, one, self-pace, but also I wanted to, it allowed for the freedom to really explore and find out where you were at, the person taking the course. So there was a lot of space, a lot of opportunity to, what would you do in this case? I rewrote a lot of or not rewrote, but I wrote from my own perspective, how I would present and do things. And I really enjoyed the space to do that and the freedom to do that.
I think that's important because in the end, it's up to us anyway. It's our personality and it's the way we present when we're dealing with people.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You can't, it's not cookie cutter. You can't say this is what you have to do. It's like,
Right.
but yeah.
Exactly. And, I wanted, I did my first wedding ceremony before COVID hit. So I'm trying to remember exactly. It was a very small service, but it was fun. It was great. And it was very individualized. So, I was prepared for that. So,
Yeah.
it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when you can do different things for different people and meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. Absolutely. You receive certificates in mediumship, angelology,
Yep.
spiritual counseling, and medical intuition, which is something that I am fascinated by. Medical
Okay.
intuition.
Yeah, I am not, I looked at a couple of the previous interviews and I've heard a lot of people talk about how they got started and all of that. And I really was, I was not traditional. I may have had experiences as a child, but I
Yeah.
don't recall them. I don't really know if I did or not. The only thing I can say is that I had a really fascination with God and Jesus from the time I was 5 years old. So, and that never left me, even when I left the church and I left, and I think I was 13 when I said, this is not working for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was very interesting. I had no clue as to spiritualism or mediumship or angels or any of that stuff. And what happened was I was seeing a chiropractor and we were just talking and she was talking about how much she loved California. And long story short, I said to her, well, why don't you go to California? And she said, because there's this group I belong to. And at that time, I was in my early 20s. At that time, I think if she had started talking about God, I would have turned her off totally.
Yeah.
I just would not have listened.
Right.
But she said something about cosmic consciousness. And I'm going, okay, intrigued. And then that led to her inviting me to a group meeting, which I didn't know was going to turn into a seance. And I was just floored.
Really?
Yeah, I was just absolutely floored. It was my first ever experience, and the information that came through was, nobody knew me. I was brand new.
Right.
It just blew my mind. Brought through someone, an aunt that I love dearly, gave the name. I was floored. So that was my introduction. I really started in New Jersey with Reverend William Dott. And what happened was very interesting. There was a tragedy that occurred that brought me back home. And the church kind of fell apart because Reverend Dott passed away. And it really did not withstand his death. It was, so I was floundering. I really, I had joined a very progressive United Church of Christ group here in Milford. And the reason I did that was because they were doing affirmative action stuff. And I really was very interested in that. And then I kind of left, but it was still too compressed for me. It didn't give me the freedom to be the person I wanted to be and to explore my own beliefs. And then one day, it was, I don't know how many years later, but a long time, I was at a nursing home, a hospice actually, and I was visiting a friend's mother, and this woman was standing by the door with a clipboard looking very professional. And as I went toward the door, I went to the nurse's station to ask if my friend's mother could have some ice chips. And when I went back, the woman looked at me and she said, "Are you Karen?" And I said, "Yes." And it turned out to be, of all people, Barbara Thomas, who was a member of the church that I attended, the Spirituals Church in New Jersey. She and Barney
Oh, okay.
were both active in the church in New Jersey. I hadn't seen her in 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's how I got involved.
Oh, my
Then
God.
I started getting involved in New London Spiritualist Church, and you know, and then just things have evolved since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's medical intuition. Are you working with that?
I am not because of COVID.
Okay, but I mean, generally do you?
Generally, I am, okay, of all the things I do, that's probably the one that I have not worked with a lot. However, I do it. I do, if a person asks, I can do it remotely, but it's not the one I have the most experience in. Basically, medical intuition is, I let the spirit guide me, you know. We talked, you kind of said something about angelology. Let me just backtrack there. Angels do help. They help in the IET, which is integrative energy therapy. They help in every way. And to me, my early education in spiritualism, there wasn't much talk, if any, about angels. To me, angels are light orbs, aspects of God. You know, we name them because we as humans need to give them names so we can identify them. So when I work with the angels, there are 9 angels that I work with in IET. They work on different aspects of the human being, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. And what medical intuitive does is you basically are doing a scan of the body. And then you, as you're doing a scan of the body, I see things, I feel things. I may go to the liver, I may go to the root chakra, wherever the issue shows up. So, for example, here's a very simple example. If someone is having a low back problem, you know, and there's no apparent physical cause, or even if there is, okay, even if there is a physical cause, usually when we have an area that is prone to injury or has been injured, there are other issues. And I think you understand this because it's not just a physical issue.
Oh, absolutely.
It's on the cellular level. So in medical intuition, what we do is to, if I stop at the root chakra and I see that, you know, it's, you know, chakras don't stop, the energy doesn't stop, but it'll slow down or speed up or whatever. Usually what we do is then explore an emotional issue that connects to the root chakra. Okay, so it's, or the sacral, or wherever the issue is. There could be anger, and so the liver could be inflamed, and then you find there's a lot of anger in the person's life. So what you try to do, what we do is I work together with the client to bring up and discover what the anger, or what's behind the anger, what's behind the root chakra issues or the low back, what happened in your childhood, and together we find ways to resolve the issue, hopefully. That's a very simplistic explanation.
How did you get started with the angelology?
I took that course I started in the Healing and Harmony Center, which is in Glastonbury, or was in Glastonbury. It's recently closed. But the Healing and Harmony Center was a whole nother story. They had classes and workshops and all kinds of offerings take place. And inside the Healing and Harmony Center was the Psyche Institute of Higher Learning. And I just started taking classes, and that's where I really developed. I feel that's where a lot of my confidence and my trust in terms of mediumship, that's really where it finally came through. You know, I did mediumship before, but I really felt like I had finally come into my own after taking 3 levels of mediumship there.
Oh, wow.
One of the other courses that was offered was angelology. And I didn't know anything about it, and I'm very curious. So just like with everything else with the interfaith and spiritualism, I wanted to learn as much as I possibly can. And one of the, who the angels are, what the different roles of the angels are. I'm not an expert in the hierarchy. I don't really go there. That's okay. I don't have to. I just, as I said, wanted to learn. If I needed communication ability, okay, now I know I can call on Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel is obviously one of the very most known angels to all of us. So that's how I came across it. I just took the angelology classes. I was introduced to the various angels and what they do and where their strengths are, or where their forte is. But really, you can call on any angel you want for anything.
Right, yeah.
So.
Well, that's interesting, no kidding. Now this IET you were speaking about, now I worked with EFT,
Yes.
and we had procedures as to how that works. Do you have a procedure with the IET?
Yes. Yeah, no, the IET is a very, yes, there is a procedure where you place your hands. There's where you place your hands on the body as you go through from head to toe.
Yep.
And there's integration points, and it's all done silently, but there is a whole process for it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, everything we do, you and I and anyone, I don't know what you want to call us, light workers, we're healers, okay? Whatever we do, whatever modality you choose, I see everything as healing. We're healing, we're helping others to heal. And we're helping us. And I find, people often say to me, aren't you tired after all of this? And I say, I get as much healing when I give healing as I get as much as I give, So I'm sure you felt that energy.
Absolutely.
So it's all about healing. We're always healing.
Yeah.
We think we feel, and then we heal from what we feel.
I like that. Yes. That's good. I may use that sometime.
Go ahead. I have to, in full disclosure, it wasn't my original thought, but what is these days? What is original? I don't know. But yeah, so it's been fun. It's been an incredible journey, one that I never thought I would take. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead you astray, but
No.
if you have any questions.
Yeah. One thing I did, and I went on your webpage. That is one beautiful webpage you've got.
Thank
That
you.
is fantastic. Yep. And I listened to your program that you had too, your recording and that. And
Okay.
I recommend it to anybody who is interested in it. It's really very good. Red Cardinal Calling.
Well, thank you very much.
How did you come across, how and why? And I see red cardinals in the background.
It's my favorite story of all time. So I'm glad you asked. My mom passed away in 1998. She was pretty young. And I had a 2-year-old, my son was 2 years old at the time. And we were out in the backyard. It was a beautiful October day. I think it was like 2 days or a day after she passed away. I'm not sure. And he was 2, so he was running all over the place. And I looked, and there sitting on the ground was this red cardinal, and it didn't move. It didn't fly away. It didn't get afraid. It just sat there. And that was my first, I didn't connect at first. I had no idea why this red cardinal was sitting there. But what happened was I started getting all of these cards, these condolence sympathy cards, and they were all with red cardinals all over them. So that was the second phase. Well, years later, I'm thinking of starting this business. By now I had said, okay, that's that's a red cardinal. I looked it up. I associated it with my mother. It's a very common, actually, way of spirit connecting to us. So years later, when I decided to start the business, I'm driving on 95. I was probably going to New London, Spiritualist Church, or to Pine Grove. I'm not really sure where. But I said, okay, Mom, what am I going to call this? What am I going to call my business? And a tractor trailer truck comes to the side of me. I had never seen it before and haven't seen it since. And on the side, it said, Red Cardinal Calling. It was just amazing. I said, okay,
wow.
I got it. I got it.
Oh my gosh.
That's how that came
Wow, I got
about.
goosebumps with that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it was my mom's suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah, it was fascinating. And my mother's favorite color was red. So that made sense to me. So
I've never seen a truck like that either.
I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And it just went off.
And it just went off into the ether somewhere. Yeah, it went into another place in space. So
Now, this your business, is it in your home or do you have a brick and mortar place?
well, I had a brick and mortar, and I was renting space from the Healing and Harmony Center. Come obviously with
Yeah.
COVID, that
Yeah.
that discontinued. And I was also doing my expression of faith services there. Priscilla was the owner, and she was very gracious and very generous in allowing me space for those. So when this happened, obviously COVID, everything went home. Right now, I'm doing everything from home. I do almost all of my sessions are on a Zoom or phone if people, excuse me, if people prefer. So.
So have you picked up a business? Is the business picked up or is it very slow?
I get
like
a lot
everything else?
of, it has, and I go through, times where it's like all of a sudden I'll get 3 or 4 calls in a week, and where'd you hear about it? So it's not, it's good. I'm very grateful for the clients that I have because they keep referring other people, and I appreciate that 100%. Hopefully someday we'll be able to join. I really miss being, in the physical with people.
Oh, yeah.
We actually did I had a 3-year anniversary of Expressions of Faith in September, October, and did an outdoor at the Riverview Park or Riverside Park in Glastonbury, which was just so sweet and so nice to be able to do that. So I run classes. I do everything I'm trying to do more and more to establish ways for people to connect, because this is going on a lot longer than we thought, and it's going to continue to go on. I mean, we're very hopeful, and I believe, there's always hope. Hope is a constant in our lives. There's always hope, but we're not over this yet. And so I like to develop ideas, come up with ideas and groups and programs and classes online for people. And it's been fun. I have a spiritual development / home message circle class, both beginners and intermediate, which basically combines, talking about spirituality, spiritual development, what do we need, where do we want to go, and also gives people basic understanding of mediumship on different levels. So depending on where they come in.
Now, are all these listed on your webpage?
Yes, they are all on www.redcardinalcalling.com. I have several pages. One of them is events. That's where you're going to see services, events. and there's a whole page dedicated to expressions of faith, which basically my idea behind expressions of faith was to help, or I wanted to attract or to get the attention of, or to provide a place for people who had had experiences with traditional churches and just left.
Yeah.
I just, for whatever reason. So I purposely am not affiliated with any religion, any organized religion. It is exactly what it says, expressions of faith. I do provide an inspirational talk. I do provide messages, but after the inspirational talk, we have a discussion. We open it up, and anybody can bring in their ideas, their point of view, their questions, and that's probably my favorite part, because you really get to know the people you're working with, and so yeah, all of this is on my website. I also have a Facebook page, Red Cardinal Calling, or RC Spiritualist Services, something like that. Just put in Red Cardinal Calling. So, but it's been fun. It's been a joy to work with so many different people, and I hope it grows. I hope it continues to grow.
Well, I see it's at the same time as our church, so that kind of precludes you coming as our church as a worker.
I am starting to, well, I know you've reached out to me in the past, and my life got very, very complicated for a couple of years there. And between November and January of this year was a big, huge change for me. So with Expressions of Faith, our services are at the same time. I am starting to bring in guest speakers. I am starting to, I really just wanted to establish myself. I do have another minister, Reverend Heather Kick, who works with me. So hopefully, my point being, hopefully my time will open up and it won't be right now. It's like my baby and I don't want to leave it.
Oh, I know that feeling. Oh, yes, I know that feeling.
Okay. So we'll see. I've also, there's a lot that goes on at 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I've considered changing the time till evening, but people are going to be at the beaches. The weather will get warmer and we will go back outside sooner or later. So, but that's something to think about in the future. I will definitely keep you in mind.
So where do you hope all of this goes for you? Where's the?
I really hope to expand Expressions of Faith to get more people involved, and part of that is me learning this. I laugh because I say to my son, "You don't understand." When I ask him to help me, he gets so frustrated and anything on the computer because I'm frustrated and he doesn't. And I said, "You don't understand. When I was teaching," I said, "when I first started teaching, we used mimeograph machines. Do you know what they are?" I said, "This is second to you." I'm learning. I'm teaching myself all about, how to advertise. I'm listening to podcasts. My time has opened up a bit. So hopefully I can reach out, and this platform, the Zoom, it really does give us that ability to go nationwide, even worldwide. I don't know how yet. I'm working on learning how to do that most effectively, but so I do want to expand that. I do want to, the people that I'm attracting that are coming to Expressions of Faith and that are coming into, I would still like to reach out where the younger people, the younger generation. But that'll come when and if it's necessary. Maybe they're just going a different route. I do see a lot of spirituality in the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings, and they just don't call it religion. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And that's perfectly okay. So.
Through all of this, how do you feel your mediumship has changed, or has it changed?
Oh, it has changed tremendously in so many different ways. And I think, you know, one of the messages I received years and years ago, years ago, was you trust spirit, but you don't trust yourself. And that, when I took that to heart and really started looking at that, that's when I took a leap in terms of my mediumship abilities. I teach a class, that spiritual development class. I teach those classes, and I tell them all the time, you have to trust yourself. If you know, most of you do trust spirit, but you don't trust yourself. Just give what you get. And in the mediumship classes, it's safe. It's a safe environment. So what if you get it wrong? So what if nobody knows what you're talking about? So the other thing I tell them in all, you know, that sometimes I astound myself, you know, that sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'm thinking in my head, oh God, I don't know what I'm talking about. Where is this coming from? You know, and I start to get nervous, and then I'll say something, and the person in front of me or on the screen starts crying.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I got it right. Or they're laughing. Okay, I'm describing somebody that they actually know. So the doubts are still there, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's not a good thing if we doubt ourselves so much that we don't give the messages. I think it's a little bit of doubt, a little bit of skepticism is okay, because that keeps us on our toes. It keeps us honest. It keeps us going. So.
But you have to get what you get.
You have to give what you get. That, you know, I just completed a beginner's class, and it was just like people who had no idea, had never done anything. And you know, after 6 weeks, once a week, it was like everyone was at least giving something.
Yeah.
And astounding themselves in the process. So,
But doesn't that make you feel good?
I felt good, and I just felt so grateful, because I use the expression, I believe, okay, and I work with a team. And when I say that, we have our guides, our angels, our archangels, our teachers, our master teachers, our doctors, our philosophers that are with us from the time before we leave, before we come here. And they're with us throughout our whole lives. And whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, the thing is if we acknowledge it, if we ask for help, they can do so much more, because they're not interfering with our free will. So every time when I see a student finally give a message, finally have that confidence to give a message. One of them said one message was, I don't know who this is for, but somebody's tired, you know, there's something with somebody's tire. And that was all they could give. The next day I go out and my tire is almost flat, and there's a nail in it. It's like, so, and that's why you got to give what you get.
Yes,
I'm telling them, you got to give what you get. So I'm always grateful. I'm grateful because I believe I have a lot of mentors from the past, starting with Bill, going all the way up through, you know, New London and Jackie Randall and you and Barbara and Barney and all the years that I spent there. And then, you know, the Healing and Harmony Center and Priscilla. I have had I feel as if what's been shown to me is, you know, the teacher will come when you're ready. And that is what has happened throughout my life. And then I feel a very strong team, or I'm so grateful for the assistance that I get from Spirit, which is always there. So.
Well, if the teacher came before you were ready, you wouldn't recognize it.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So
Now, do you do healing in your church?
I do healing. Well, now it's changed, but yes, we do healing. Very similar to what spiritualist, what was happening in the spiritualist church. We do one-on-one. I started doing it after the service because it just prolonged the service so long, you know, so much that I did it as a separate event after the service, and that also allowed for people who just wanted to come in for the healing. And usually if they did that, which didn't happen a lot, but if they did, they eventually started coming in for the service also. So yes, we do the healing.
Okay, good.
Now we just say the prayer. We have people say names and we say the prayers. So
Well, it sounds like your services aren't that much different from ours.
no, they aren't. I'm adapting as I go along, and like I said, I'm not a rule person. I'm not a
I'm not
rule
either.
follower, you
I'm not
know.
either.
And
Mm-mm.
okay, so I just like we still touched. You know, I feel touch to me is
Yeah.
such a healing force, just in everyday human
Mhm.
compatibility. You know, it's been proven. You don't touch a baby in infancy, there's some problems that last the rest of their life. Touch itself, a hug, a hand on the shoulder, it's so healing. So to me, healing, you know, washing your hands, but you know, we do have the bowls of water and washing our hands and very careful and stuff like that. This was before COVID,
Yep.
obviously.
Yep.
You know, so I do feel that it's very, very important to touch. And basically the only difference is there's no politics, there's no board. I don't have any boards. I don't have any board meetings. I don't have the politics. I did not want
Mhm.
that constriction. And I had to leave the spiritualist church because of their rules. Because once I became ordained through Patricia Price, and that they told me I couldn't be a member of both. So
Okay.
that's one of the rules.
Yeah.
So I had to resign. I didn't want to. I mean, to me, you know, everybody, you know, of course, every organization has a reason and a purpose and right to rule, but I really felt like, why can't I belong to more than one if I wanted to?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not just spiritualism. I mean, the same thing happened.
It happens in
when-
every church.
Yes, when I was a member in the United Church of Christ, and I really loved that group because they were so progressive and so different. And then I joined the spiritualist church in New London, and I had to resign. So I just want to be open. I want to be open to whatever changes. Like I said, my services are very similar. The biggest difference that I would say is the discussion. You know, we have a very lively, very interactive and fun discussion.
I like that idea.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
really enjoy it. Just if you do, it's a little. You have to entice them at first.
Yeah.
But once the first person asks a question, then they all start asking. But I love it, and what I also, you know, I don't have to be the one answering everything either. So that's what I like about it, and I like people to tell me how they feel and what faith means to them. And for this whole new year, have faith. You know, have faith. But, you know, whatever your imagination, whatever you can imagine is good and perfect and beautiful as you can imagine this world, it is, and so much more. And that's what faith means to me.
Great. What, how do you handle, or have you had any naysayers come up in your practice?
I got an anonymous letter once.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got it had initials on it. I wasn't the only one. There were 4 or 5 of us who were practicing alternative methods of healing and worship and yeah, I it was a lot of pasted on gospel quotes.
Oh, my.
Yeah, at first it was like, okay, this is somebody who feels very strongly about what they believe, and that's okay. And it didn't do me any harm. I was careful to check my own response to it. You asked how one of the ways I've grown is to learn to react instead of respond. I mean, to respond instead of react.
Yeah.
And why would I get angry? This person is expressing, yeah, that okay, they didn't really need to send it to me, but they felt they did. It didn't do me any harm, and all I did was bless them and move on.
Oh,
But
that's incredible.
there's a lot of interpersonal stuff going, but I'm dealing with it. I am very different than anyone in my family, or but it's been good. It's okay.
I know years ago, well, it was even before I got into spiritualism, and at the New London Church, there was several people came from the local Baptist churches,
Uh,
and they put in the collection plate, they put in the minister's calling card or
mhm.
business card in there, and it was like, I guess the person in charge said, you called the minister and told them that they did not appreciate that. Because,
Oh,
we wouldn't go to their service and do
right,
the same
right,
thing.
right.
And if you don't like what we're doing, don't come to church.
Don't come to it.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
It's like, how is
Yeah,
that bothering you? How is that hurting you?
right,
It doesn't.
exactly. Yeah, that's where people feel that way. I don't know if they feel threatened, if we feel because there's a different or alternative. I did have a similar experience to that with not within at the Healing and Harmony Center, with people leaving cards, religious cards and Bible quotes in the bathrooms. They would go into the
Oh,
ladies'
geez.
room and the men, and they would leave them. It's like I don't know why they feel it's not okay to have more than one belief system. We're all united, but we're all on our own spiritual journeys. Everyone is unique in
Yeah.
terms of the journey that we're on. So it's I don't know. I just have tried to let it go and not let it bother me.
You kind of wonder what they're doing in that store in the first place, if that's the way they feel, because that's kind of an alternative store.
Well, this wasn't even a store. This was a business. This was a building. And,
Okay.
this
Oh,
was, yeah, it was intentional because this was not a store. This was a
okay.
building, and the business, it was a
I see.
big, yeah, offices and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I don't know. They probably go online and look. I don't know. And I think sometimes people feel it is their ministry to convince others to think like them. And that's the downfall of that can be a downfall. This coming year is hopefully leading toward more sense of community, more of a sense of family or tribe, however you want to describe it. Your tribe, is your family, but your family is not necessarily your tribe.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They,
No,
it's
yeah. It's
the,
people. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say the shadow side of that is, and we're already seeing some of it, but the shadow side of that is that you have people who join a group or a community and allow whoever is in charge to think for them. They lose their identity. So you can join a community and still retain your identity. It's important, I think, that we do that and yet not lose our sense of our ability to think for ourselves.
Yeah, we've seen too much of that this past
Yes,
several
we have.
years. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Now, how do people find out about you? I mean, if they had never heard of you, word of mouth or?
Word of mouth is actually always the best and the biggest way. I am on, like I said, I have a website. If you Google mediumship or you Google red cardinals, I'm amazed at how many different things that my site will actually show up in. I ask, it's Facebook or my website. I am advertising, just starting to advertise in the door opener. I am reaching out to, it's a brand new one to me, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm looking into getting into natural nutmeg. Like I said, this is an experience, a growing experience and a learning experience for me, the business aspect of it. And how to get my name out there and how to get people to know who I am. One of the ways I'm doing it is by meeting with you and doing this interview. So I very much appreciate this opportunity to do this. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you for being on, believe me. Has any of this been in your family? I mean, do you have any mediums or any sensitives in your family?
No, not that I'm aware of. I tell you, my dad was just passed away in January. He was 92. Okay, when there was a tragic incident back in '88, and my brother passed away, and then my mother passed away in '98. Or no, something like that. It doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is that of all the people in the world, I would never have suspected, but he started to share stories with me about things he had seen after my brother passed and after my mother passed. It blew my mind. Even my mom, who passed first, she passed in '98. She used to tell me that one of the things I have 7 brothers, so one of the things this one did, they used to all walk around in their underwear. That's just the way it was back then. And she said she would tell me, I saw Daryl making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches last night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she would see things, and then my dad, that just blew my mind. Oh, I'll tell you a quick story about my dad. After my mother passed, and he started revealing to me all of these things that were happening, like he'd be watching TV, it'd turn off. He'd turn it back on, it'd turn off. He'd check the connections because he was an electrician. There was nothing wrong. The radio would go on in the middle of the night. He would, all these things that he would tell me about. And I was astounded. I was shocked that he would even have these. I had no idea. And then when he told me all of this stuff, I said to her, well, gee, Dad, tell her to get in touch with me. I've been asking for her for weeks now. And he looked at me and he said, she's practically hitting you over the head to get your attention.
Oh my gosh.
2 days before, I was in my living room and I bent down to pick something up off the floor. The book fell out of the bookshelf and hit me on the head. It's like, I was like, oh my goodness, that blew my mind. So yes, that's the other thing about mediumship that I've learned, is to get out of your little box about how it's supposed to happen. It can happen in so many different ways. And by it, I mean receiving inspiration and guidance from spirit can come in so many different ways.
Because I have heard that mediumship kind of goes down the family line, and that so that or getting in touch with spirit and being open to it, and that it's like we're
I
not the
have-
first.
Yeah, yeah, I have no knowledge of it. I have no knowledge of it. I'm not saying, it was, we were all, my family was very Catholic.
Yeah,
So maybe there was, and it was just not talked about.
but your mother and father saw things.
Yeah, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
So they had never talked about it before, and I just didn't know anything about it. But it probably did, because I remember talking to a cousin, and I was shocked at some of the stories that she was telling me about experience, but they just didn't identify it
Yeah.
as mediumship. They
Yeah.
just didn't call it that. That's all.
Yeah.
So I suppose there was. And I'm starting to do a little genealogy, so maybe I'll come across something.
What about your son? Is he open?
No, my son is not open to any of this.
No.
No, I'm letting him, he's following his own path. He's following his own journey, and
Yeah.
he doesn't criticize or berate or anything like that. He just,
Yeah. Now you just have the one son?
yeah, just the
Yeah.
one son. Yeah, just the one. I like your background.
Oh, thanks. That's Scotland.
Oh, is it? It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Scotland, but it didn't work out, so I thought I'd bring Scotland to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Enjoying it. So what are you doing these days? I read that you were meeting in person and now you're back.
we're back doing Zoom. We were
Okay.
doing Zoom when we were meeting in person too.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
so that, because when we started the Zoom, during the first lockdown and that, we started getting people that weren't able to come to church.
Right.
And I didn't want to lose them when we got back in the building.
And that is something I'm going to have to learn how to do. Zoom while you're doing it in church, because I'm sure it's not hard. It's just something I haven't thought through, because that is a big, you asked before about how things are growing. I have people now that are, if I have a physical space, where am I going to be? Because I have people from all over the states. I even have people from New Jersey and North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I want to Zoom if I, when
Well,
I
it's not hard. It's just the same way you're doing it. You're just in a building. But what we had, because where we rent from is the Knights of Columbus. They've been great to us. They have been great.
Good.
They've got a big screen TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we broadcast from the online, and it broadcasts over the TV
Over
so
the
that
TV.
everybody can see. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And any TV can turn into a monitor. So that's an excellent idea. Like I said, I just haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Well, hey, you do baby steps, Karen.
Yeah,
Baby steps.
Exactly.
Yeah, and at the rate we're going, I don't know if we're going to when we're going to get back, because we're still not doing well around here.
No, I think 2021 is not, I know people, it's a new year, and hope is always renewed at the beginning of the year. I think there is a surge of hope there, and that's fine. And but it's not going to be like, phew,
Right.
well, that's over. That's, it's not. I think the separation and the social distancing are going to continue for a long time.
I think so.
I think until the summer. And even then, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Take it as it comes.
Yeah.
We're still working with the vaccine, so we'll see what happens.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
well, this has been wonderful, Karen. I'm so glad we got together to talk.
And as am I.
I will put your contact information up with the videos. I don't know how, like I say, I kind of playing around with different ways to get it onto different mediums. I've got Facebook and YouTube.
I noticed that. I'm very impressed, Lynn.
Well, I'm I'm still trying to figure out how to do it.
Okay. I know, I'm trying to figure out how to get everything organized because it's all over. I have some over here
Yeah,
and some over here
yeah.
and some in this
There's-
file and, what did I
There's quite
do?
a learning curve to it, let me tell you.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Yes,
gee.
there is.
So
It's hard for the younger generation to realize we went through high school and college without
Without-
computers.
I know.
We used the card catalogs.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So-
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for being with me. This was really great.
It's been a
And-
pleasure.
And later on, maybe later on, a couple months down the line, we can get together again and see how you're doing and bring it up
Okay.
again.
All
Okay?
right. Yeah,
I will
thank
be in
you.
touch with you later on.
I appreciate that. Stay
Okay.
healthy, stay happy.
Absolutely. You too. Stay safe. Thank you,
Okay,
Karen.
thank you.
Happy New
Bye-bye.
Year. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.